here, Tim.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome back to the pruning session with Tim, and it's always great to be with Tim when it comes to this sort of things. Now, Tim, when you're pruning, what kind of tools do you use? Would you talk a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So I have two favorite tools that I use when I'm working in the garden, and those are my hand pruners, or I had a client that I worked with who was English, and she called them secateurs. So I like to call them that. And these are bypass pruners, and that means that the blades have sort of a scissor-like action, right? This cutting blade bypasses this blade here, and so there's another type of hand pruner out there called anvil pruners, where instead of scissor action, the cutting blade comes to an anvil, and sometimes that pinches. So I like the bypass style pruners better. And I always like to have a hand saw with me. I get a lot of pruning done with this simple little hand saw, and what I love about this is you can tell it folds up. If I could tell you the number of times I've had a saw that didn't fold and I accidentally cut myself, well, we wouldn't want to talk about that. But this one folds up. It's also small enough that it gets into pretty small little places, so I could even use this when I'm pruning a rose bush on up to a small tree. So these are the tools that I use the most often. Even though I've worked as an arborist, I've used chainsaws and all sorts of hedge trimmers. These are the ones that I like to use when I'm in my garden at home.
Now, what must you keep in mind when you're pruning things like this, safety-wise?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because even though we're just making small cuts here, we're dealing with sharp objects, and so I like to I start out thinking about safety, and that's why I always wear gloves, right? I'm pruning a rose bush full of stickers and thorns, but also this protects my hands in case my hand pruners happen to slip. Yeah, I don't want to. This gives me a little protection. I tend to wear long sleeves when I'm pruning, just again for a little bit of protection. Harder to talk myself into it when it's summer, but it's important to do. And then I always wear eye protection. You see, I was just gesturing with this. It's good to have eye protection in case you get a little crazy with your hand pruners. And also, as you're looking through a shrub and moving things to the side, they sometimes bounce back. Good to have a little protection. You only have two eyes, might as well keep both of them.
And especially when you're cutting tree branches, you don't want them to fall on top of you.
Absolutely.
Into the eyes that way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now, are you going to keep this one in the middle?
This one in the middle here, I've kind of been debating on this, because this one is right in the middle of our shrub, and we have this other one here. This one could be one we take out to improve air circulation through our rose bush, or we might make it just a little bit shorter, just to keep a fuller look to the rose bush. So here's a trick that I use. It's easier to cut twice than it is to put stuff back on after you've cut it.
Very true, very true.
So if I make a shortcut here, I can kind of look at that and decide if that, as I finish the rose bush, is that what I want out of this, or is this too much? Is this too
much? Yeah,
too condensed, or too much foliage in one area?
Okay. And what about this one? 2 branches crisscrossing.
So that you brought up something that we tell a lot of our students who are just learning pruning. If something is crossing or rubbing, that has the potential, especially with a thorny rose, to maybe injure another cane, create an entry for disease or something else. And so I might pick the one that I think is the best. In this case, this one is a nice vigorous rose, but it's coming from here all the way out here. So I'm going to cut this one all the way back, and I'm going to cut to this node all the way down here.
Okay, so why don't you cut it all the way to the bottom, because you think new growth might come from here?
So new growth could, absolutely, new growth could come from right here. I could cut this even lower. You might be able to see here was a cut that somebody made that was lower, and here another one. We can cut all the way down low on the plant and leave just small canes for new growth.
And then that leaves us down in the future, if we need to prune again, we will. But
Yes.
if not, the motto is try not to prune as much as you can, but to achieve the best result
Absolutely.
with the least amount of pruning to maintain the health.
Absolutely.
Of the
Make the fewest amount of cuts that will get you what you need out of your pruning work.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned for more tips on pruning.